And today we will begin by talking to a special guest. This morning, India UAE Comprehensive Trade Pact CEPA is nearing completion of 1 year in few months. It was signed last year. India and UAE, they have targeted over $100 billion in bilateral trade with the pact. Also, India and UAE are jointly looking at investment projects in Africa. And today we are joined by Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Al Zahudi, who is Minister of State for Foreign Trade, UAE. In this exclusive conversation, good morning to you, Dr. Thani. First of all, it's going to be 1 year of CEPA trade pact with India. How has it been so far? Have you achieved the objectives?
First of all, congratulations to both the Indian and Emirati business communities on the anniversary of the CEPA between both nations. Last year was a fantastic year. There was a growth of percent in our bilateral volumes between both nations, reaching non-oil trade between our countries exceeding $49 billion, halfway to achieve the $100 billion which was announced during the signing. There was a good growth in the exports of the Indian products as well to the UAE, around 26% of the exports. Many of the services has been flowing from both nations. Many of the investments has been announced as well from both sides after the CEPA signing the petrochemical reliance agreements, some of the food security parks in India which has been announced, some of the investments in infrastructure and ICT projects from the UAE side. So it's a good start. Yes, we're still at the early years of the implementations, but I'm sure more good things to come from the CEPA.
And what are the steps forward for India-UAE trade? What more can happen there?
We're discussing many of the things. First of all, we're going to revise the CEPA and evaluate the implementations. For sure, some of the products might come in to things forward. We're discussing as well some of the trilateral projects similar to what has been announced last week on the clean energy and renewables and green hydrogen between UAE, India and France, as both nations are going to have big meetings this year, the G20 presidency in India and the COP28 hosting here in the UAE. This is another message to the world that we can work on trilateral, not only in bilateral matter. We're discussing as well with the Indians the co-investments in African market. It's a big market which they use a gateway. There's a huge interest from the Indian investors and governments into the African market. The beauty about as well the Indian market, the boom and the economic growth which is happening and is going to continue at least for the 7 to 8 years, which means that more infrastructure investments, more ICT investments are going to come along into the Indian market. So I see the horizons are very positive, and I'm sure more investments and projects to come along.
Can you tell us more about the joint projects with India, as you mentioned, where you want to explore investments in Africa jointly with India?
Increasing the investments, increasing the market access to many of the Indian Emirati products into the African market, increase the investments and harness the potential of investments in the African market. It's one of the fastest growing population, and I'm sure there are many business opportunities in this growing and emerging economic bloc.
Dr. Thani, what about the rupee dirham trade? What is the status there? We've been hearing that since a long time that you will be accepting rupee or the trade will start soon. What's the status there?
Yeah, it's one of the ideas which has been initiated after signing the CEPA. This is a signal that will not always stop wherever we work on. We're going to always continue coming up with new ideas in this relations. The idea of trading in dirhams, rupees, was initiated after signing the CEPA, and it is progressing very well in a discussion between the central banks of both nations. If this is going to happen, this is going to make things much easier for the traders who would like to use the local currencies in their trade. For sure, it's going to be piloted in the non-oil trade, and then we're going to grow slowly. We're on a good stage. The discussion is happening in a very positive environment, and I'm sure we're going to announce the details very soon after the central banks of both nations are done with their technical work.
And let's talk about your de-risking from oil trade. How are you becoming more and more part of the globalized world? Will you sign more bilateral trade pacts now with nations? What's the status there?
Well, last year we signed 3 with India, with Indonesia, and with Israel. This quarter of the year we're going to conclude the 3. We're going to conclude with Turkey, with Cambodia, and with Georgia. We're as well in a discussion with many countries. This year is going to have more comprehensive economic partnership agreements signed by the UAE with many countries. So things are progressing. We're open more and more to the world, and we're sticking to the principles of multilateral systems when it comes to WTO, globalizations, and ensuring the liberalization and openness of our economy to the world.
And let's talk about the biggest geopolitical event going on. It's Russia-Ukraine war. It's going to be a first full year of war now. How has been the last 1 year in terms of trade with Russia?
Well, last year was a good year in our bilateral trade between UAE and Russia. There was a growth in our bilateral trade volumes. Non-oil trade exceeded 95% in growth in comparison to 2021 numbers. We reached almost $10 billion in our non-oil trade, and we're going to continue having more and more trading business opportunities with the Russians.
One event going on in the Asian region is Pakistan's financial crisis. It's trying to get a bailout from IMF. What's your view on Pakistan's financial crisis?
Well, stability in the region are very crucial to our economic growth. So we do work with the Pakistanis and many countries in the region in ensuring that there is job creations, economic growth, and boosting of their economies through different means. The discussion with the Pakistanis in some of the acquisitions and some of the direct investment projects, which is going to have a direct positive impact on their economy.
But are you going to commit any money to Pakistan, because Pakistan has been seeking funds and financial help from UAE, Saudi, and other countries?
Well, it's all about investments, and we're from our side again. We're looking at the economic opportunities, investment potential, and increasing the trade volume, because we know at the end of it, those initiatives are going to have a direct impact on the communities and people.
Let's talk about Israel. How has been your trade ties with Israel? You signed FTA with country last year. What's the latest there?
Well, it has not been into force yet. We're just waiting the custom agreements to be signed and ratified. Both nations ratified the CEPA, but we're just waiting the formalities and custom agreements to be concluded, which we're expecting to be done in the upcoming 1 month and a half. So the expectation of the activation of the agreement is going to be early April. Regardless of the CEPA, we had an excellent growth last year. We reached $2.5 billion in our non-oil trade between both nations. It showed how complementing the two economies to each other, and showed how the potential of this engagement between UAE and Israel.
And the last question before we let you go, let's talk about the elephant in the room, fears of recession now. How are you prepared? Will there be more trade deals with countries to avoid recession?
23. Again, it's all the international protection. The virus has already been gone last quarter, the quarter of last year. We exceeded many of the negative protection. I'm expecting there will be a much better situation this year to most of the global economies. For the UAE, we're going to exceed most of the predictions, and we're going to have an excellent growth this year. Last year, we exceeded the 6% growth in our GDP. The forecast so far for this year is above 4%, but I'm very confident that we're going to beat those expectations and predictions.
Well, thank you, Dr. Thani, for joining us this morning from Dubai and giving us all these important updates on trade and economy issues.
WION now available in your country. Download the app and get all the news on the move.